So at my worst, I'd get up at 5 in the morning and straight onto either vodka or beer, whatever I had left over from the morning. And then if I was working on the boat, then I'd have my beers packed in. I'd got to go to a cafe, get a load of beers in the back of my bag, get down to the boat, and I was on my own, so I didn't have any crew. So I could just drink at my own leisure. So that was all it was. Everything I did was with alcohol. There has to be beer here, you know, and yeah, so it dominated my life. It really just took over. There was definitely something missing, you know. It's that God-shaped hole. That's what I found. That's what I found out it was. I was just chasing. I was isolated. I was lonely. I was just seeking all the things to try and fill, you know, what wasn't there. Yeah, and it's it almost killed me a few times. So I left. I knew I was going to leave England at an early age. I just did not like the weather. Had plans to go to the US and play football there. I was tried out at Stockport County, so I just wanted to play football, but didn't make it. Went to university, hated it. Went to Mallorca, fell into the yachting industry, and the drink was really. So at the end of every day, we'd go out drinking every day because the weather, you know, drink was so cheap, and eventually became a yacht captain, of a sailing yacht. And again, by that time, drink had really caught up with me, you know. I'd got married, I'd got divorced as well in that time, had 2 wonderful children. But I was so far from God at that time. It was just living that hedonistic lifestyle, you know, drink, with women who, you know, I always seemed to land with women who were drinkers as well, you know, so that, that was a big part of it. The only time I came back to pray was when I got testicular cancer in my early 30s and started praying heavily then. But then as soon as the cancer was removed, it was right, back to drinking. There was definitely something missing, you know, it's that God-shaped hole. That's what I found. That's what I found out it was. I was just chasing. I was isolated. I was lonely. I was just seeking all the things to try and fill, you know, what wasn't there. And it's it almost killed me a few times. Yeah.
Were these moments where it almost killed you, that breaking under the surface, was it evident to others?
Yeah, for sure. Especially my children. They were witnessing it firsthand, and it was actually the time that I stopped drinking for a long time. Without God was when I scared my daughter. She'd come round and stayed with me. You know, like the weekends where she's not with her mum. And I shouted at her, and I don't remember doing this, but I know that her mum came round and picked her up, and I thought that was the end of that relationship. So I tried AA before, and AA just didn't work for me. The higher power, I couldn't get my head around that, you know, because I still believed in God throughout all this. I'm just so far from Him, and yeah, so that was a big moment, and that was redeemed. It was my relationship with Hannah. It was So I'll mention that a bit later on. What happened there?
So what started to turn for you? Was there a decision to make a change? Was something external happened? What triggered this change?
Yeah, so I mean, it was my daughter there, but also I was I knew I was dying. There's a couple of times I'd been dragged out of the sea face down by a guy in the restaurant. I'd just passed out in the sea. I'd passed out on the road, on a busy road, just in the middle of the road in the middle of the day, and the police had to come and just move me. You know, cars were just driving around me. You know, it's some of the stuff, and I knew my liver was failing. You know, and I know that we had to do to get into the shipyard. You had to pass a medical test, and my liver count. I don't know what count it is, but it was through the roof. But when I got told that, I just went off drinking to to try and forget about it. You know, it's crazy what alcohol, what a strong addiction it is. And yeah, so the only time that I came back to, well, I went to church, was my upstairs neighbour, where I was living in San Augustine. She knew of my background, and she was a Christian, and she kept saying she was praying for me and kept giving me tracts, kept inviting me to Santa Ponsa Community Church. And I gave in finally and went 3 times with her, but I had a bottle of vodka with me at all times, in a bottle of water, you know. Yeah. So I was drinking then. But had she not been so insistent, or not insistent, persistent, sorry, I wouldn't have known where that church was, because it's quite a hard church to find. It's the only non-denominational church on the island. And so when I failed, so I stayed off the alcohol for 5 years after Hannah, and then I just picked up a drink again, and just started drinking, and I knew where that was going, because rock bottom, every time I tried quitting before, rock bottom was always worse, every time after quitting. And about a month in, on a Sunday, I just woke up and thought, I've got to get to church. And because I'd been to this church before, I just jumped in my car and drove straight to the church. And had such a wonderful, this old woman called Dorothy, just saw how broken I was and just came over, and just the love of Christ, you know, just loved on me. In that 2-minute gap you get between notices. Wow. And
something she said, or tell me about that moment.
Yeah, she just came over and was just, I can't even remember where, because I was just still in a daze, I think, you know, I was still down, but she just came over and just loved me, you know, and it really affected me, because at the end I went forward for prayers and got prayed for by a couple of people, and that really just started the recovery, the way that a couple of people just came round, you know, so they'd come round, they'd drive round to my house, then I started going to worship night Wednesday, and it took another month for me to stop drinking, yeah. But I was getting prayed for, you know, and I was going back to church, and yeah, so that's how that happened.
What changed for you around that time? Did you move back to UK, or what was happening?
No. There was a lot of changes going on. I was still getting tempted to go and have a drink, but it was just a matter of just staying strong. And then after, I got baptised a few months after, and then I got really attacked, yeah. Then there's a few other things happened to where I thought I might go and have a drink, you know, but the Lord always came through. There was one time when I was helping set up the chairs in the morning on Sunday, and I thought I didn't want to be there that day, and I was going to do the chairs because I'd committed to it, and then I was just going to drive out, and I was going to go and have a drink. I was there, and I just prayed, Lord, I need Paul to come. I just need to speak to Paul. He was my mentor at the time. He'd been through a few things, and just as I left, Paul just turned up early, you know, and we just went for prayers, and yeah, I didn't go for a drink that day, and it was, and then I had a few other relationship breakdowns, and again I thought, you know, if ever I was going to have a drink, it would have been after that, and I didn't. It was just praying, the Lord just keeping me
kept off it.
Kept off it. Yeah. So I know now that I'd never have a drink again. Yeah. I know that God's taken that away from me now. So it's a new chapter.
Yeah, we've seen it before with guys through recovery, that just one is sometimes all it needs.
Yeah, for sure.
So some of this chain of the change, you've got the turning point, you've got this kind of discovery, you've rediscovered yourself, a bit of reconciliation with your family, or at least your children.
With my children, yeah.
Where did the journey take you after that? How did you end up back in the UK?
So I came back here with this woman at the time, who was my fiance, and we felt being called back here. We've since separated. So there was a lot of shouting at God about that, you know, because I thought that, you know, that things were going to work out differently. But in that time, he's closed doors for Mallorca. He's kept doors open here. He's provided me with accommodation, and then he's been bringing young men into my path who've got who I've just drawn alongside, just to walk with them, you know, not preach at them or anything like that. It's just because my story, you know, is just helping, you know. So it's I know he's got that. So it's yeah. So
you said about your dad telling you about what happened to you as a younger man at your baptism. So are we sort of at that point in life where you're back in the UK, you get baptised?
So I got baptised in Mallorca.
Oh, in Mallorca.
In Mallorca,
okay.
yeah. So the day that happened was when my dad felt the Holy Spirit said to him, "Now's the time to tell Rick what happened when you fell out of that tree."
How did that feel? How did that impact
We were both in tears. It was just, yeah, it really was. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what he went through, you know, seeing his son dead on the floor there. So yeah, it really, I couldn't believe it for the first couple of days. It was just, you know, how good God is. And yeah, it's just his love. It's just, you know, it's just, and I never thought, I was badly bullied when I was, by my best friend when I was 11 as well. So I had a fear of man. So that was part of the reason why I was drinking was, you know, I became really introverted. And that drink brought me out of my shell, but I still had a fear of man. I used to hate going to men's breakfasts at the church just because it was just all men, you know. I was much more comfortable in groups of women. So when I started, there's no way I would have chosen to be mentoring young men, no way. And again, that's gives God the glory, doesn't it? You know, because it's all His strength. You know, this is not something I would have chosen.
Who are you today, do you think, because of your faith, your journey?
Completely different. My mentor said if he could have filmed me from just a year ago, from being in England, has made a massive change. Again, with the community of this church here, just drew alongside me, and again, just living with Martin, and there's another guy called Johnny, who just came along, and we now have prayer meetings every morning. It's just wonderful, and yeah, just the community is a lot different here than it is in Mallorca, and it's so I needed to be here as well. It's my prayer when I was back in Mallorca was, Lord, take me anywhere but not back to England. And as soon as I told my mentor that, he said, I knew you were coming back to England. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What do you think you're still learning?
Wow, what am I still learning? How good God is. I'm still, you know, it just to focus on Him, despite what the circumstances are. If you just give everything, give Him control, which is hard. He's faithful to you, and yeah, it is hard giving Him control, because you naturally think I can do better, but as soon as you do try, or as soon as I try and take it back, it's the Lord says, all right, you have a go, and then I mess up, and then oh Lord, you take it back, help, exactly. Yeah.
If there was a bloke watching a Rick of the Mallorca days, and he's in a similar place to the man that you were, what would you say to him?
I'd say go for prayer. Yeah, it's it made such a difference. You know, I tried AA. It didn't. I mean, it works for some people. It didn't work for me. But just the prayer, and the community within the church as well. You know, it's the love that the people give you. I'd say don't give up. Yeah.
My last sort of question really is what has this journey taught you about God or Jesus?
Oh, again, how much love he's just love. Just the relationship that you can have with him is just incredible. Yeah, I know I'd be dead if I didn't have him, and just the wonderful things that he's doing now in my life. It's yeah, I'm into a new wonderful season, which I hope will God's at the centre, and hopefully, well, I know he will stay the same, but I just hope that he continues to use me however he wants to. Yeah.